I'm Bill, and I'm the chair of the Greenwood County Democratic Party. These are my Monday musings for May 3rd. I've been listening to former state senator and former gubernatorial candidate Vincent Shaheen on his new podcast, Bourbon in the Backroom, which I highly recommend, by the way. In one recent episode, he said something that caught my attention. The common belief that all politics is local is no longer true. Senator Shaheen decried that local candidates, all the way down to city council, are running on national issues, not local issues. We saw that here in Greenwood, even during the city council runoff last November, where the following text message from the McGravy-Garrett machine went out to the voters of Ward 5. It was filled with national ideological trigger phrases. What does any of this have to do specifically with Greenwood? Why are we introducing something like the fear of the progressive movement into a city council election? Have they actually ever sat in on a city council meeting where they debate how far a mobile strawberry vendor has to be from a restaurant storefront? We're seeing something very similar and frankly quite frightening happening in state legislation right now. When you think about the issues that face South Carolinians, what comes to mind? Roads, rural broadband, the education system, our ports, heck, even our state flag. But what has drawn special attention from our Republican state legislators? Protecting women's sports from transgender students. Why the sudden interest in women's sports? As one person said, no one is introducing legislation to increase funding to women's sports or to ensure equal pay for female coaches. Instead, they're fighting hypothetical problems about 14-year-old trans girls. Where did that come from? How did that make it onto the priority list of our Republican state legislators above all those other items? And interestingly, seemingly almost by magic, it's also become the legislative priority in over 20 states. It's quite a coincidence, isn't it? Well, no. Not once you see how local politics is being driven by extreme right-wing social agendas, funded and pushed primarily by three organizations: Alliance Defending Freedom, the American Legislative Exchange Council, also known as ALEC, and the Heritage Foundation. These groups create model legislation and push it down to state legislators who literally copy and paste and submit, which is absolutely the laziest form of governing. Republican House Representative Mike Akaski said that the submitted bill in Columbia, South Carolina, quote, was copied almost wholesale from a defeated Idaho bill. Did they draw up this legislation after much research? Are there years of documentation of this being a problem in South Carolina? Have they reached out to constituents to determine that this piece of legislation will markedly improve their lives? No. They submitted what they were handed by outsiders and then sought to retroactively find testimony to support it, which they did not do very well, by the way. As observed by one political expert, these bills are not addressing any real problem, and they're not being requested by constituents. Rather, this effort is being driven by national far-right organizations attempting to sow fear and hate. Look, I hope that someday we do get back to local politics and try to work on the items that can have a true positive impact on our people, our schools, and our local businesses. Until then, we still have to continue to suffer through the time-wasting ideological shenanigans of the lazy legislators. That's it for today's Monday Musings. And if you haven't registered to vote yet, please do so now. We need lawmakers who are in tune with the people, not lawmakers who need to have their bills drawn up for them by outside organizations.